Welcome along, fellow time travelers and strange historians. This time around, we're going to travel back in time to check out some more of my favorite historic photos of George Harrison at Friar Park. This is part 3. You're going to see some cool snaps, many of which you may never have seen before. Before I begin, can you please do me a favor? Kindly like and share the show and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Now please join me around the campfire. Let's begin by getting a grand overview of the estate from above. This snap was taken, I believe, in 1924. I had it colorized in order to be able to focus on details. For example, here we have the mansion, and to the right is a gravel path that runs along the east side, and to the right of that is the Dutch knot garden, and over here is the Fountain of Perpetual Mirth. And you can see an assortment of walking paths. To the northwest of the mansion is an area that I refer to as the Rockery. It is essentially a recreation of an alpine garden with a miniature version of the Matterhorn at the top. Behind the mansion can be seen the glass houses, where Sir Frank Crisp would keep a variety of fruit trees and carnivorous plants, and even a fernery. And on the bottom left can be seen the tennis courts. Notice the arrangement of the driveway in order to impress guests as the mansion comes into full view after being hidden by these trees, which were purposely planted there in order to do just that. That is an example of what was originally known as landscape gardening, popularized by the legendary Lancelot Brown, affectionately known as Capability Brown. You may have heard of him. Imagine the incredible joy that it must have brought the great Frank Crisp to create this incredible, unique, and fascinating oasis, and to be able to share it with his family and his friends and guests. Because, don't you know, he used to open the grounds up to visitors at least once a week and for certain occasions. You know, everyone loves to have extra money, and people love to be able to spend that extra money on the types of things that may bring some joy to their lives, and perhaps offers some sort of distraction from unpleasant things in life, and also to reward us for our hard work. But imagine using your wealth to bring joy to the lives of others. That is what Sir Frank Crisp did then, in his time, and that is what he continues to offer, including to me and including to you. I mean, check it out. Here we are, well over 100 years later, and we're still talking about, and we're still fascinated by what Frank Crisp created back then. I mean, wow, right? It's kind of like the Beatles in a way, right? I mean, you think about it, they created their music over half a century ago, and yet we're still enjoying their music, and we're still talking about their music, and we're still talking about what they created, and we're still talking about them. Frank Crisp, in many ways, was the Beatle of his day. He created this amazing, fantastical world, that incredible mansion, and that fantastic museum of gardens. And here we are today, still talking about it. I mean, wow, right? Wow. By the way, if anyone is interested, I can speak more in other shows about the art of landscape gardening, including the proper design of approach driveways to grand estates. This snap shows the approach driveway that leads to the south side of the mansion. And so you can imagine how impressive this sight would have been as you approached in a horse-drawn carriage in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and by automobile following that. This, of course, is the main pedestrian entry to the mansion. I absolutely love this snap. I've studied it endlessly. It's clearly a model of the mansion at Friar Park, and no, I have no idea who created it. Don't even ask me. I wish I knew. In fact, if you know, can you please contact me? I'd really, really love to know who made this, because it's pretty freaking cool, yeah? As a matter of fact, if you have the ability to create something like this, will you kindly let me know? I think it is safe to assume that it was commissioned by George Harrison and likely cost a fortune. What do you think something like this cost? 'Cause it ain't no dollhouse. This photo shows the rarely seen northwest side of the mansion. Incidentally, I do have the layout of the mansion, but I don't want to be responsible for any security concerns, and so I'm going to be very careful about how much I reveal, except to point out the obvious. In fact, one of the many reasons that I left Facebook, remember Facebook? Is that even still around anymore? But I used to have a very popular group there called the Friar Park Fan Club. And every once in a while, you'd have some weirdo. And when I say weirdo, I don't even mean that in a good way. Some weirdo who would write things like, "This is a violation of Olivia's privacy. This is a violation of Olivia's privacy." It's like, come on, I'm posting a photo of Friar Park from 1906. It ain't my fault that George Harrison bought a famous mansion. Here's an idea. If you don't want people looking at your mansion, don't buy a famous one. How's that for an idea, George? Don't shoot promotional photos and films there. How's that for an idea? Anyway, I mean, come on. I don't blame him, right? I mean, if you own Friar Park, you'd want to show it off too. So there's that. But either way, moving on. This is the tower, as is frequently seen from photos taken from the lawn on the other side. And these are the stained glass windows of the Jacobean Hall. Go ahead, leave your comments below saying Jacobean. I'm a New Yorker. I don't say Jacobean. That's not me. If you want to say Jacobean, go right ahead. Me, I'm saying Jacobean. That's a cooler way of saying it. I'm just saying. And this right here is a back door, which it's safe to assume guests would arrive via horse-drawn carriage to attend parties thrown in the ballroom by Sir Frank and Lady Crisp, and later Sir Percival and Lady David. And this flat roof was likely designed in order for Frank Crisp and his family and for their guests to be able to congregate and take in extraordinary views of the surrounding gardens and countryside. This was the staff entry and for, deliveries and stuff. And this building was likely used as a scullery. And of course there would be a staircase there to descend down into the cellar for storage and that sort of thing. And this was the location of the original large kitchen for the staff to be able to cook in. And this entire enormous structure was likely for staff, including live-in cooks and for nannies. And this area would later become the location of George Harrison's home recording studio. And so yeah, I can do an entire show on this model alone, and I probably should, but right now we gotta move on. And so this is a snap of Louise Harrison, who was George Harrison's sister, and as you can see, she is standing on the lawn that descends down to the lake. She and George had quite a close relationship, though she lived in the USA when he became rich and famous. I don't know the full story, but following his death, she was found to be living in a trailer park in Sarasota, Florida, and I think somewhere else after that, or quite possibly before that. I'm not exactly sure how something like that happens to family members of the rich and famous. It seems to me like a marketing disaster, right? I mean, you would want to put a family member in some simple home somewhere just to keep a story like this from even getting out. But who knows? I don't know the full story, and if you do, please let me know in the comments below. And this is a promotional snap of George Harrison standing with his guitar in a window at the top of the tower, facing towards the descending lawn. This snap shows George Harrison wearing one of those cool plastic, or is it glass, finger protector thingies for when he's playing guitar. And standing next to him is a gentleman whom many of you may have heard of. His name is Eric Clapton. And don't worry, the chances of Mr. Clapton being drunk, or on heroin, or some other substance when the snap was taken was only about 95%. It most certainly was not 100%. Okay, maybe it was. And you can see the tower of the mansion behind them. I hope you're enjoying the show so far, showing photos of Friar Park while George Harrison lived there. Before I continue, can you please do me a favor and like and share the show? And check out the links below to learn how to support my research and productions. Specifically, I'd appreciate it if you could become a member of this channel and or join me on Patreon. You could also leave a super thanks in the comments below. This is a great snap taken by photographer Terry O'Neill, showing George standing on the far side of the lake. The mansion can be seen in the background, and the levels of the Polemite stone can be seen behind him, which creates a series of waterfalls descending down from the upper pond, which helps create a sort of optical illusion which I have discussed elsewhere, including in my books and in my documentary on Friar Park. So check those out if you want to learn more. This snap was taken on the same day, and we see that George is standing on a zigzag bridge. As you may be aware, the zigzag bridge is a common feature in Chinese gardens, Japanese gardens, and Zen rock gardens. They can be crafted from either stone slabs or planks and are typically incorporated into the design of ponds, frequently appearing in rustic garden settings. The purpose of using such a bridge aligns with Zen philosophy and teachings, aiming to direct the walker's awareness towards the present moment and their surroundings, encouraging a state of mindfulness, a practice often described as, quote, being here now, end quote. Since these bridges often lack railings, it's entirely possible for an inattentive individual to accidentally fall into the water. Now check this out. The zigzag layout of paths and bridges have been known to keep negative energy and spirits from easily following you. So there's another benefit if you are currently considering designing a zigzag bridge in or around your home or garden. In fact, if that works, keeping the negative energy and spirits from following you, please let us know in the comments below. The following snaps were taken in the graveyard at Friar Park. Yes, you heard that correctly. Friar Park has its own graveyard. But cool your jets there, bub. It ain't what you think. You see, here's the scoop. Sir Frank Crisp created an area on the southwest portion of his property that was referred to as the Weeping Corner. It was filled with beautiful weeping trees. Weeping willows, weeping cherries, and so on. And it was there, in the Weeping Corner, where Frank Crisp had buried the remains of his dogs and horses. It was located in that area of the estate for different reasons. For starters, who the heck wants to walk through a graveyard? But also because it was near the upper lodge where his coachman lived, and near the stables where the horses lived. The estate even had its very own crematorium, although I have no idea how one cremates a horse. Is that a thing? Does anybody know? Maybe the horses were just buried? I don't know, it's a big hole, right? I don't know. How do you bury horses? What do you think? If you happen to know what's involved with cremating a horse or burying a horse, please let me know in the comments below. And in this final image, you are seeing an illustration of a legendary statue near the entry to the mansion. As you can see, it shows a friar holding a frying pan with holes in it. And underneath it is the caption, "Two holy friars." Yeah, I know. Sir Frank Crisp was a strange guy, and that's why we love him. He was incredible. In fact, I like strange people. You probably like strange people. And I use the word strange in this channel in an affectionate way. Well, mostly. I mean it in the way that it refers to those who are not normal, who kind of do positive and constructive and creative and wonderful things in a way that is quite unlike what most other people could do or would do. In fact, many of you may find this incredibly difficult to believe. I don't blame you. But over the course of my lifetime, I have often been accused of being strange. And so, I just decided to embrace the word and see it in a positive light whenever possible. And so, there's that. Sir Frank Crisp was strange. Friar Park is strange. It's greatly strange. It's wonderfully strange. It's incredibly and fantastically strange. And that's why we love it. By the way, I don't know who took some of the photos that I have shown in this show. So, if you happen to know, will you kindly let me know so I can respectfully give them the credit that they deserve? I could do that in the description or even in a pinned comment below. And so at this point, I would like to thank you for joining me on this time travel adventure to check out even more of my favorite historic photos of George Harrison at Friar Park. This has been part 3. If you want to see more shows like this, please let me know in the comments below. You can even ask me about specific photos that you would like for me to discuss. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because there will be more videos like this one. And I hope you'll check those out too. Please check out the links below to learn how to support my research and productions. Specifically, I would appreciate it if you could become a member of my channel and or join me on Patreon. You could also leave a super thanks in the comments below. Kindly be kind to all non-human animals and please don't eat them. They don't like that, trust me. If you were a cow or a chicken or a turkey or a fish, you wouldn't want anybody eating you either. Remember, for the benefit of compassion for all living things and their own health, all of the Beatles chose a plant-based diet. And you can too. And please do yourself a favor and go to a local shelter and adopt a cat or a dog. You and they will be very glad that you did. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.